Coming to Canada, the new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, has directed the Defence Ministry to review a $13.2 billion F-35 fighter jet deal signed with the US.
Canada just delivered a shocking blow to the United States, one that even Donald Trump never saw coming. In a bold and unexpected move, Canada is not just canceling a massive $13 billion fighter jet deal with the US. It's also taking steps that could shake the very foundation of North American military alliances. For years, Trump has used tariffs as a weapon, pushing America's allies into tough corners. But Canada isn't backing down. It's hitting back harder than anyone expected. This standoff isn't just about fighter jets. It's about power, influence, and a changing world order. Could this be the moment where America's dominance takes a hit? With China and the EU watching closely, the stakes are higher than ever. In this video, we break down the latest developments and what they mean for global politics, defense, and the future of US-Canada relations. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to stay ahead of these breaking updates. Now let's get into it. What exactly did Canada just do to leave Trump frustrated and scrambling for answers?
The government of Canada has been clear on this issue since the beginning. Should the United States move forward tomorrow with the imposition of tariffs on Canadian products, including steel and aluminum, we will be ready to respond firmly and proportionately.
The trade war between the United States and Canada has taken a dramatic turn, escalating tensions to unprecedented levels. President Donald Trump's administration imposed hefty tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum imports, citing national security concerns. This move has not only strained diplomatic relations, but also sent shockwaves through global markets. In a swift and assertive response, Canada announced retaliatory tariffs totaling nearly $30 billion on U.S. goods. The targeted products range from steel and aluminum to various consumer goods, reflecting a strategic approach to maximize political and economic impact. But that is old news. There is a recent development that is truly shocking. The stakes have risen even higher with Canada's reconsideration of a major defense contract, the purchase of 88 F-35 fighter jets from the United States, valued at $13.2 billion. Defense Minister Blair emphasized the need to reassess the deal in light of the changing trade environment, signaling a potential shift in defense procurement strategy. This decision goes far beyond a simple contract review. It signals a major shift in Canada's defense posture and its long-standing military alliance with the US. If Canada pivots away from American-made fighter jets, it could reshape its role in NATO and the G7, triggering ripple effects across global defense and geopolitical alliances. Let's take a look at how this contract came to be. In January 2023, Canada finalized an agreement to purchase 88 F-35 fighter jets from Lockheed Martin with an estimated acquisition cost of 19 billion Canadian dollars, which is approximately $13.2 billion. This investment was touted as the largest in the Royal Canadian Air Force in over 3 decades, aiming to replace the aging CF-18 fleet and improve Canada's defense capabilities. The procurement plan outlined the delivery of the first 4 aircraft in 2026, with full operational capability expected between 2032 and 2034. However, recent developments have seen Canada reevaluating this commitment. Defense Minister Blair, in consultation with Prime Minister Mark Carney, announced that the government is exploring alternatives to the F-35, including the possibility of assembling fighter jets domestically. This reassessment stems from a desire to ensure that the chosen platform aligns with Canada's defense needs and economic interests, especially in light of changing geopolitical and economic conditions. Canada's reconsideration of the F-35 contract transcends typical trade disagreements. It reflects deeper concerns about reliance on U.S. defense manufacturing amidst shifting international relations. This move suggests a potential erosion of trust in the U.S. as a defense partner, prompting Canada to seek greater autonomy in its military procurement and capabilities. Such a shift could encourage other nations to reassess their defense dependencies, potentially leading to a more fragmented approach within alliances like NATO. The corporate ramifications are equally significant. Lockheed Martin, the defense giant behind the F-35, has already felt the tremors of Canada's reconsideration, with its stock experiencing declines. The uncertainty surrounding the deal adds to the company's recent struggles, reflecting the broader volatility in the defense industry amid geopolitical tensions. Investors are now grappling with the unpredictability of international defense contracts, which are increasingly susceptible to political headwinds. Canada's potential pivot away from US-made defense equipment could have significant ramifications for both the G7 and NATO, because NATO's strength lies in the interoperability of its members' military forces. A deviation by Canada from procuring standardized equipment like the F-35 could challenge joint operational capabilities and strategic cohesion. If other member states follow suit, NATO may face increased difficulties in coordinating collective defense initiatives. This is NATO moving away from the United States, essentially. As a forum for the world's major advanced economies, the G7 relies on unified stances on global security issues. Canada's move to diversify its defense procurement could lead to differing defense strategies among members, potentially complicating collective responses to international security threats. The United States has traditionally played a leading role in shaping the defense strategies of its allies. Canada's reassessment of the F-35 contract may signal that the influence of U.S. leadership in defense matters within these alliances is reducing, prompting a reevaluation of defense collaboration frameworks. While the financial implications of canceling the F-35 contract are substantial, the broader costs pertain to strategic alliances and defense readiness. The initial agreement projected significant economic benefits for Canada, including contributions of over 425 million Canadian dollars annually to the GDP and the creation of approximately 3,300 jobs over a 25-year period. A shift away from this contract could necessitate renegotiations and adjustments in industrial participation. Defense Minister Bill Blair has indicated that the government is exploring alternatives to the F-35, including European-made aircraft such as the Swedish Saab Gripen, the French Dassault Rafale, and the Eurofighter Typhoon. Shifting to European jets represents more than just a change in equipment. It signifies a potential realignment of Canada's defense partnerships. The Saab Gripen, for instance, is lauded for its flexibility and cost-effectiveness, offering a balance between modern capabilities and operational independence. Similarly, the Dassault Rafale and Eurofighter Typhoon are renowned for their advanced avionics and combat performance, making them viable contenders in modern aerial warfare. Yet this transition is filled with challenges. Integrating a mixed fleet of fighter jets would necessitate extensive logistical adjustments, including the establishment of new maintenance infrastructures and the development of dual training programs for pilots and support staff. The Royal Canadian Air Force has historically been cautious about operating multiple aircraft types due to the increased complexity and costs associated with maintenance and training. The financial implications are significant. Maintaining a diverse fleet could lead to inflated operational costs, as each aircraft type requires specialized parts, tools, and expertise. This scenario could strain defense budgets and divert resources from other critical areas. Moreover, the time required to transition to new aircraft platforms could impact the readiness and effectiveness of Canada's air defense capabilities during the interim period. This dilemma is not unique to Canada. Portugal, another NATO ally, is also re-evaluating its plans to acquire F-35s, citing uncertainties stemming from recent shifts in U.S. foreign policy. These developments underscore a broader trend among U.S. allies reconsidering their defense procurement strategies in light of geopolitical uncertainties. As Canada weighs its options, the decision will likely hinge on balancing immediate operational needs with long-term strategic goals. The choice between maintaining interoperability with traditional allies through the F-35 or pursuing greater autonomy with European alternatives presents a complex challenge. But Canada is not relenting. Prime Minister Mark Carney's recent visits to France and the UK proves Canada's efforts to strengthen alliances amid escalating trade tensions. By engaging with European leaders, Carney aims to diversify trade partnerships and reduce reliance on the US market, reflecting a broader strategy to mitigate the impact of American tariffs. The uncertainty stemming from these trade disputes has left companies in a state of paralysis. Businesses are grappling with unpredictable tariffs, making supply chain planning increasingly complex. Flexport CEO Ryan Peterson highlighted the challenges faced by companies uncertain about future trade policies, emphasizing the need for clarity to adapt to the new normal. As both nations dig in their heels, the prospect of a prolonged trade war looms large. The implications extend beyond immediate economic losses, potentially reshaping global trade alliances and economic policies. The question remains, how far are these nations willing to go in this escalating conflict? And what will be the long-term consequences for international trade relations? The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, has sounded the alarm, warning that these escalating trade tensions are killing global economic growth and fueling inflation. The OECD's recent report downgraded growth forecasts for the US, Canada, Mexico, the UK, and China, underscoring the far-reaching consequences of Trump's protectionist policies. The construction industry in the United States is already feeling the pinch. Tariffs on Canadian lumber and appliances are driving up the costs of building materials, adding an estimated $7,500 to $10,000 to the price of a single-family home. This surge worsens the existing slump in the U.S. housing market, with potential buyers growing increasingly wary. The ripple effects extend beyond borders, highlighting the interconnectedness of our economies. In response to these economic salvos, Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, has embarked on a diplomatic offensive. Carney emphasized Canada's commitment to fair trade and its unique position as the most European of the non-European countries. This recalibration aims to fortify alliances and mitigate the fallout from strained U.S. relations. The Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, between Canada and the European Union, provisionally applied since 2017, offers a glimmer of hope. This accord has already boosted bilateral trade by 65%, providing a robust framework for deeper economic integration. By leveraging CETA, Canada could redirect exports of goods such as machinery, pharmaceuticals, and agricultural products to European markets, cushioning the blow from diminished U.S. demand. China also emerges as a potential lifeline. With the U.S. market becoming increasingly inhospitable, Canadian exporters are eyeing opportunities in the vast Chinese market. Sectors like agriculture and energy are poised for expansion, with China seeking reliable partners to meet its increasing needs. However, navigating the complexities of the Chinese market requires great diplomacy and strategic foresight. The internal dynamics within Canada are equally compelling. Provincial premiers have voiced an array of reactions to Trump's tariffs, reflecting the diverse economic landscapes across the country. Resource-rich provinces like Alberta and Saskatchewan, heavily reliant on energy exports, are particularly vulnerable. Their leaders are advocating for swift action to secure alternative markets and safeguard jobs. Meanwhile, manufacturing hubs in Ontario and Quebec grapple with supply chain disruptions, prompting calls for federal support and innovation-driven solutions. The stakes are high, not just for Canada, but for the United States as well. The imposition of tariffs is a double-edged sword, with American consumers and industries bearing the brunt of increased costs. The National Association of Home Builders reports that building materials costs have already risen 34% since December 2020, a trend worsened by the recent tariffs. Such inflationary pressures could dampen economic growth and erode the purchasing power of ordinary Americans. The situation escalated when Trump suggested that Canada could become the 51st state of the United States, a notion that was initially dismissed as a joke, but later reiterated with apparent seriousness. These developments have had a unifying effect on Canada's political factions. Prime Minister Mark Carney has been vocal in his opposition, labeling the idea of annexation as crazy and emphasizing Canada's sovereignty. Similarly, leaders from various political parties, including Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, have stood together in rejecting any notion of merging with the U.S., reinforcing a collective national identity. Provincial premiers have also rallied in defense of Canada's autonomy. Ontario Premier Doug Ford, for instance, popularized the slogan, "Canada is not for sale," even promoting merchandise bearing this message. This sentiment has resonated with the public, leading to increased displays of patriotism, such as a surge in Canadian flag sales and public figures wearing the "Canada is not for sale" hats. The tariffs and annexation rhetoric have not only unified political leaders, but have also galvanized the general populace. Canadians have initiated boycotts of American products and services, expressing their discontent through consumer choices. At sporting events, a wave of patriotism has swept across Canada. Fans are booing the U.S. national anthem, a bold display of national solidarity in response to escalating tensions. As this geopolitical chess match intensifies, the stakes are higher than ever. Will Canada's defiance set a precedent for other nations? And how will the U.S. respond to this growing resistance? We're tracking every development as this unfolds. Stay ahead of the story. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next big update. See you in the next one.